Hello, Charlene here, and today I am going to help you level up your live stream. What is the most common things we see on live streams? We see tips, facts, tactics, strategies, and even guests. And to be honest, sometimes it can get a little dry and boring. It's just a talking head after all. So, how are we going to level them up? I'm going to show you how in this live stream, and I'm going to show you 3 ways to do it super easily and fast. So let's get started. Hello, I am Charlene Tessier, founder of Strength in Numbers. I'm helping you to attract motivated clients to your coaching business using a combination of LinkedIn and live streaming. And today I'm going to show you how to level up your live streaming so it is not always this very sort of similar and kind of blends into everybody else's. I call it the yawn, and I'm going to help you bring it into a wow. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to incorporate some stories. Now, you probably are thinking it's going to be hard, or you're maybe thinking, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time to map out these super long stories and then these really long live streams every single week. And I'm going to show you 3 easy ways that you can actually incorporate stories without it being all that difficult or time consuming. But before we jump into that, I would love to share with you a little bit more about why stories are so key and how they can really turn a live stream from yawn, sleepy to wow. Because stories add elements that normal factual kind of tips and tricks talking head just can never really do, to be honest. So why are stories really so important and powerful, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where often it's filled with very facts-based information? On more social platforms like Instagram and Facebook, we will notice a lot more element of story, but on LinkedIn, generally people shy away from that. And I do believe that you can tell a very business appropriate story. It doesn't have to be dry, can be very business appropriate, but still have story. And it's actually going to draw in a lot more people because there isn't a lot of that happening. So you will automatically stand out. Now, story. I love story. Since I was a very young child was the thing I was kind of obsessed with. And I was actually this really nerdy bookworm. I read a lot of books. How many books? I read pretty much the entire children's section of my little library of where I lived. Yes, I read that much. I actually read so much, I don't even remember learning to read because I started reading at a really young age. And stories are really impactful. And why is that? Well, first of all, stories have emotion. And when we put emotion into what we're sharing and emotional statements or emotional references and phrases, what it does is it builds personal connection. We all feel these things happening to us, whether it's frustration or anger in something we're trying to do, or disappointment, when we're trying to get our startup off the ground. Many of us experience these emotions, and building that into your live streams can actually make it more impactful, but also build a much more deeper relationship and connection to you and your viewer. Next is stories have to have some kind of action. They need to connect people in a way that it kind of brings them from point A to point B in a way, right? We all want to see sort of a transformation or journey, and it can be very, very small. It doesn't need to be the big, massive hero's journey, which we all hear about. It can be a very small transformation, an aha moment, and how we came to that aha moment in that moment today, because really it is about just little transformations, little learnings, little journeys that we experience every day and kind of forget about. And those little transformations are amazing little stories that we can incorporate with, of course, some emotion to it. Stories elicit us to have a much better memory of what's happening. So when we hear a story that we really connect with, we're much more likely to remember the type of information that's in there, the lesson or whatever is being told. That's why we have fables and fairy tales and things like that, that historically taught some kind of lesson at the end so that those who are learning it, mostly children, would ingrain that into their memory much more easily than a bunch of facts and figures, right? And so having a story element makes it a lot easier for people to actually assimilate the information. So here are three really, really easy ways that you can incorporate a story into your live stream to make it a lot more memorable and a lot more interesting. First one that a lot of people forget about is your origin story. And your origin story essentially is how you got from where you are today to where you really began. And it can be quite a long journey. Mine was a very long journey with many, many twists and turns. And probably telling your whole story, every twist and turn is a little bit long for a live stream. But there are little bits of that story. You can tell it in a compressed way. You can tell little transformations that occurred. So you can splice up your origin story and tell it as part of your live streams. And the reason that is so powerful is people want to get to know you, and they want to get to know how you came, how you came to this and what you're doing. And you might be saying, well, but my audience already heard my story once, if that, right? People forget. Also, you have new people discovering you all the time. And even those who've already heard your story, you might tell it slightly a different way. People just love hearing the same stories over and over again, to be honest. It's not boring to them, especially if it's a very engaging story. My daughter, she listens to reads the same book day in and day out. She just loves it. She knows what's going to happen, but we just love stories, and we love hearing the same stories over and over. So don't feel like I can't tell my story because I've already told that once. Remember, you can tell your story in different ways. Splice it into small little transformation stories. Tell a compressed version of your story, right? There's many ways to do it. And you might not want to do it on every live stream. So what's a second way that we can add stories to your live stream? The second way we can do this is to create a story from something that happened in your own personal life. And you can use a random word generator to help generate these ideas. That's the way I do it. So I use a random word generator, and it will generate some just random words, really. And I think about the lesson that I want to teach, and I just kind of let my brain rapidly write down a bunch of stories or things that might have happened to me in my life. They don't have to be necessarily very specifically business related. They can be kind of in the realm of what you want to explain. So how is this working? You're probably a little bit lost already. So one of the ones that I came up with was I wanted to teach people that having your live stream at the same day and the same time every week is really important. That is a very factual, boring tip, and kind of going to be a very boring live stream, to be honest. So I used a random word generator, and one of the words that came up was actually bat, which is a kind of a weird word, you would think. But that actually triggered a memory for me, and it triggered a memory of watching these this Batman syndicates from the 60s TV show. And at the end of the Batman TV show, they say, come back and watch the same bat time, same bat channel. And this was like the perfect lesson. It just like paired perfectly. It's a wonderful story. It really showcased why you should be having a regular weekly show, why you should do it on the same day and the schedule. And it just came through random stories. And you'll be surprised with a random word generator, do 3, write down as many different ideas under those 3 that could pair just any story. Don't even worry too much about the lesson. Just have it in your back of your mind, and you'll be surprised the number of personal stories or things that happened to you that week or something that happened to you last month that can be paired together with your story. Now, the third way that you can use stories is to incorporate your client's story, right? Any client that you've helped, had a transformation or a journey on, of course, people would love to hear stories of how they improved, how they overcome obstacles, how you help them do all of that. And that is one of the most easiest ways to do that as well. So those are 3 ways you can have some stories. I would love to hear how you're going to incorporate story into your next live stream. And if you are thinking about, hey, how am I going to plan this out? This is going to be a lot of work. This is going to be difficult. No, it's not, because I've got a free 5-day content planner, which has a story component just for you. I'm giving that to you free. It's just up above. You can grab it and get started on scheduling your LinkedIn content, live streams, and incorporating story. Till next time, I'll see you then. Oh, I should just really quickly change that little banner.